So the reason that I'm interested in the United States Constitution and why I've spent a lot of my career focusing on it, there are a couple of reasons for this. First of all, I'm originally from the Philippines, for those of you who don't know. I grew up in the Philippines around the 1970s, 1980s. And I grew up under a military dictatorship. So the idea of having due process, equal protection, freedom for all was really something that I did not grow up with. So when I came and had the opportunity to come to the United States, both as a student and later on as an immigrant, I found the United States Constitution to be a particularly fascinating, perplexing, and interesting document for a couple of reasons. One, I would look at it from my perspective as an immigrant, also from my perspective as a person of color and a student of color and then a teacher of color. And my favorite clause of the United States Constitution is the Equal Protection Clause. And to paraphrase that, it says in the 14th Amendment, with equivalent language read into it in the Due Process Clause of the 5th Amendment, it says, no state shall deny to any person within its jurisdiction the equal protection of the laws. And if you think about that phrase, equal protection, it's really very interesting as interpreted by the United States Supreme Court. On the one hand, people tend to think about the modern version of equal protection, which really started in the famous case of Brown versus Board of Education in the 1950s. If you recall that case stood for the proposition that separate but unequal schools were unconstitutional. And so it really led to the integration of Black and white children. Now, when people think about equal protection under the law and they think about Brown versus Board of Education, they really think about it in terms of, well, we should treat all people the same. And that's a wonderful sentiment, right? It focuses on this idea of equality. But there's also another aspect to equal protection that's equally interesting, and that is this idea of protection. If there is an identifiable group of people who do not enjoy the same rights as the majority, and I just don't mean in terms of color, but if you think about sexual orientation, if you think about gender, all of those sort of things, that's an important idea as well. And those two ideas, equality and protection, exist in tension with each other. So even if we think about things like the recent marriage equality case, so Bergefell, that's a wonderful example of that tension. So on the one hand, what the Supreme Court has done in a period of really 20 years has gone from the case of Bowers versus Hardwick all the way to a Bergefell and really found marriage equality as something that is in our Constitution, both under due process and equal protection. On the one hand, that's a cause for celebration for those who value marriage equality. On the other hand, one thing that the Supreme Court did not do was ensure that all LGBT people as individuals, as persons, are treated equally under the law. The court guaranteed marriage equality, but did not take away, for example, discrimination in the context of employment or education. So to me, the Equal Protection Clause is really very interesting, aside and apart from my own personal experience, but as I study it moving forward, it's something that I continue to enjoy and hope to share with other people, other students, as I go on with my career. I feel very blessed to be able to do